intention to get there. Whereas the ones you naturally use for MBTI conscious functions, those you don't have to use intention to use. They are one of the defaults that occurs when situations change. You default to something. Metacognition is how you avoid being slave to your defaults.
But your SE and FI are conscious, but invariant.
Well, I mean, I don't agree with that.
You think they are unconscious?
I'll concede the fact that the term conscious and unconscious aren't good ones, and that if you want to challenge my use of those terms, that's fine. I'll concede that point. Conscious,
what they
unconscious
mean,
are the best words to use.
What they mean basically is whether or not you think before you act on those functions or not. Like conscious functions, like you think before you do that thing. But unconscious just happen, and then you think about them in hindsight. Like you say, why did I did that? Why did I say that? That's what it basically means.
Okay, so what's the takeaway from that?
Yeah, you mean where I was going with this?
Yeah, well, what am I supposed to take away from that? Like, what impact on the flow is there from that?
The impact would be on duality in your model.
Okay, can you explain it a little bit more? I want to make sure I understand where we are here.
I can tell you where I'm trying to go with this.
Yeah, sure.
That will be, yeah. So you said that, for example, I am 3P, right?
You are 3P?
Yeah, P3, sorry. Like metaphysical.
Oh, yeah. That's right. You're right.
So I think my dual shouldn't be also P3, but it should be P2. Because they consider 3 and 4 to be unconscious, thus they need help from conscious function. If my dual is also P3, we're both going to have the problem at the same spot, and nobody's going to help. Like one side of the dual isn't going to help the other side, because they both have this problem at the same spot.
Let me look. ENFJ. All right, but see, the difference being their SE in the third slot, they have SE in the third slot, you have SI in the third slot. So basically, your motivational function is their polar, and their motivational function is your polar.
Yeah.
And so they're highly motivated to act in the area in which you are polar, and vice versa. And that, in that sense, it's complementary. They're both P, SE, and SI are both physical, not metaphysical, but they're the complementary halves of the physical. So one partner does the physical epistemology of SI, the other partner does the physical action of SE, and together they've got the full S pair.
No, but if those functions are unconscious, then they cannot deliver.
I think the third one is conscious. That's my point. And the seventh is unconscious, or whatever word you want to use.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I mean, I don't buy Socionics blocks. I agree with MBTI's structuring of it: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, with shadow functions in the front half. So I don't work off of Socionics blocks.
So which are conscious in your model, and which aren't?
1, 2, 3, 4 conscious, 5, 6, 7, 8 are unconscious. Like MBTI says.
But still, you think that the first is stronger than the fourth?
I think strength is the wrong way to put it, but I do think that because the dominant function is default, the fourth function is necessarily inversely proportional and mutually exclusive when they're in the 1, 4 slots. When they're in 2, 3 slots, that's no longer the case.
So you mean there isn't a symmetry line between the 2 and the 3?
No, what I'm saying is, I've got NESI. That means that NE is dominant, which means it's my default, which means SI is the alternative, the mutually exclusive alternative to it, and that they are inversely proportional. To the extent that I'm doing SI, I'm not doing NE and vice versa. But NE is my default. That's why it works that way in the 1-4. If I have NE SI in 2-3, it works differently. They're not mutually exclusive anymore. They work in coordination with the dominant function.
All right. So, so why would someone who's like you, a P4, have a dual that is P4 too? They're both gonna be weak at that.
Right, but it'll be the other P. It's always the other P.
Doesn't matter. It's still weak. It's like non-existent.
What is?
The fourth function, because it's so weak compared to the first one.
Right. So then neither party, like in the ENTP INFJ grouping, you know, they're SE seeking. I'm SE loose cannon. I'm SI seeking. They're SI loose cannon. So in that instance, what you have is not the third function slot where one person is motivated by it, the other person's not is blind to it, and therefore they compensate for each other. In this instance, you have a shared value that we don't need to prioritize as shit at all. It's in the fourth slot for both of us. So neither of us cares about it.
But so that would mean that duality isn't the same for rationals and irrationals.
It's not. It's what it says here in this box. That's why this is more right, because it's not the same. That's the whole point.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, but even if you give the ENTP the dual of ISFJ, it still would not be the same as for rationals, but it will be more correct. It wouldn't be wrong, but when you give it
my point here, Casual, is that this system makes more sense. And you pointed out a possible problem with it today, and I addressed it, and I'm glad you pointed out a possible problem. I was listening to everything you said, and I thought, okay, well, is he right here? Do I need to scrap this? The answer is no, because the warrant you gave me was the P is going to be the same for both, so then how can they help each other? But you didn't account for the fact that it's it's always the opposite P or opposite M, either way. So as a consequence, that warrant is defeated, and that's not a good reason to think that this particular model is somehow wrong or inadequate. So then that's one point that's been determined here. That in fact, that's a good argument you made, but it doesn't hold water because it's always the opposite S. If you want to make another argument, great, but that one's resolved.
Not necessarily resolved, because the slot of the P or the M will have a huge impact on the duality. For example, duality in P4 it wouldn't be the same as in P1.
Well, that's true, but that makes sense. It makes sense that duality would account for the ways that different types interact with each other differently, rather than fail to account for it utterly.
What does that mean?
Well, for example, it is the case that an ENTP INFJ relationship, or an ENTP, let's say ENTP ISFJ relationship, is going to play out very differently because it's a epistemological seeking of mine and it's an epistemological dominant of them, versus say ENTP INFJ, where it's an epistemological seeking for me and it's an action seeking for them. Why does it play out very differently? Well, because I have metaphysical action as a dominant slot. So that's going to provide them some of the action-ish qualities that they see from the SE, even though my NE only sometimes expresses itself in SE, sometimes it does. So it's going to provide some solvency there. Similarly, INFJ being very attentive to things like
Responsibility.
money, basically.
Yeah, paying bills on time and shit.
Yeah, they're going to provide SI even though it's not conscious for them. In the same way that I'm going to provide SE even though it's not conscious for me, because INFJ has the metaphysical epistemology in the dominant slot. So I am epistemologically seeking. They provide me epistemology. It's just an epistemology I'm more comfortable with. I get to complete myself and be all M's and get rid of the P entirely. That's how it plays out for me and INFJ. It plays out differently for different types depending on what their natures are, and I think it plays out according to this system right here. Now, I haven't heard any reason why it doesn't, except that it's not as symmetrical as socionics, but symmetry is not in and of itself a reason to prefer it.
Yeah, but it's still not complementary. If you want the SI epistemology and you get an I, it's not the same.
It's not the same. That doesn't mean it's not complementary. It's not identical.
Like they are not on the same page of the book or something like that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, I mean, I think ENTP's problem is we'd like to be entirely metaphysical, but we have to connect to the world in some way. And INFJ reminds us that we're spending too much time freaking out about physical shit when really what matters to us is metaphysical shit.
Nice picture, Magnus.
So all the dogs just took a shit on the floor and I had to just clean it up.
You should use the toilet next time.
They should. They should.
Oh, it wasn't you who took a shit on the floor?
No. 3 dogs.
Oh.
I'm watching.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that it's more excusable when they shit on the floor than when you do, Josh.
Well, it is. I don't tend to shit on the floor. In fact, I never have. But if I do, you'll be the first person I tell.
Thank you, because
It's
I'm
the other
watching.
way around. He should be more excused if he does that. He owns the floor. They don't.
I can see the point, Casual INTP. You are correct.
Yeah, but I don't enjoy the smell of shit, and so logically, I'm not going to put myself in a position to be uncomfortable.
Josh, you can't make that claim. You just told us you've never shit on the floor before, so you don't know how it smells when you shit on the floor.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I have never shit on the floor. I have used the toilet before, though, once or twice.
Okay. Well, poop smells different when it's in water. Anyway, I'm going to go for a while. Thanks for being here, you guys. Don't forget to rock and roll.
Oh, I forgot that one.
So that was great.
Yeah. Is that you, Magnus, on the picture?
Me? No, I'm Josh.
No, Magnus, he has the picture.
Magnus. I don't know. He had a crazy, buffed up picture yesterday. I suppose that could still be him. Oh my god, he's showing his ass in the mirror.
So Steve is ESTJ now? Or ESTJ, Steve? Are you here? No?